We will call the commission meeting to order. First item of business this morning is the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the November 12th meeting as well as a treasurer's report. Is there any adjustments to either one of those?
Move approval.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second? Second. Bill? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, first item under action items is the introduction of a new member, and Mike?
Sure. Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chair.
not the new member, but
I'm not the new member, but I am. But I want to introduce the new member, and he is sitting to my right. His name is Daryl Sanis from the City of Brooklyn Center. Welcome, Daryl.
Thank you.
Daryl is filling the seat that Rex Newman had on the commission, and for a number of years. Daryl has been a resident of Brooklyn Center for 25 years, quarter of a century, and spent even more time working for Medtronic, which is our big company here in town that does med tech and pacemakers and all that, and he worked in operations management there for 35 years. Daryl is active in the Brooklyn Historical Society and an overall active volunteer in the city. He was named to the Minnesota Civil War Commemorative Task Force by Governor Dayton. And in addition to all his volunteer work, Daryl has also been a resource for our staff here for various news stories, especially as it relates to history in the northwest suburbs, and especially as it was related when we first ended up getting the history series going. So we want to thank him for that. And Daryl, I didn't know if you wanted to say a few words or not.
commercial time.
Yeah, commercial time.
Well, let's see. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to meet and work with many of the staff here at NWCT and realize the important role they play in our communities. And hardly a day goes by where I don't turn on the TV and watch one of the stations to get local news, information, watch sports, entertainment, special features, and they're always very well done. And when the opportunity came to get more involved with this opening on the commission, I was very fortunate to be appointed by Brooklyn Center City Council to that spot, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next item is the vacancy that we have on the negotiating committee. You have attachment 4. Mike, you want to
That's correct.
comment on that?
Mr. Chair, Rex Newman served as a member of the negotiating committee for several years prior to retiring from the commission. So this does leave an opening on the committee. The committee's main function is to negotiate franchise agreements with the cable or broadband providers. Obviously, the group was very active over the last several years with the Comcast negotiations and for a couple of years related to CenturyLink. But as we go forward, we don't at this point see a lot of activity on the horizon unless a third provider comes along, because our Comcast franchise is for 10 years and our CenturyLink franchise is for 5 years. But certainly if there's some type of federal legislation or something along those lines that would require us to renegotiate or something of that matter, we'd have to look at that from the negotiating side. And then also if there's a transfer of ownership issue. As you recall, there was a point where Comcast was going to be transferred to a different ownership group, and that all fell through. So, but that could happen somewhere down the road. None of us really know. In this world, it's constantly changing with companies buying other companies and strategically running their operations in certain parts of the country. So, but anyway, if a member of the commission is interested in serving on this committee, it would be important for them to be available in morning hours, mainly sometime between 7:30 and 10 a.m., and for a couple of times a month during any negotiation or transfer of ownership. And then I've listed the current members on that committee down there with Bill Blonigan, Helen LaFave, Al Mattson, Ann Norris, Mark Schultz, and Jim Willis. So you'd be in good company. We're just looking for one more member of the Cable Commission. If you're a member of the Cable Commission, if you're interested in being on that, and again, there's not a lot of time, we don't anticipate a lot of time for that. Jim? Okay.
Anyone else? All right, very good.
Tim? Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Next item is to fill a vacancy on the Northwest Community Television Board of Directors, and Michael, keep going.
Yes, we currently have an opening at-large appointment for a Board of Director position. It is the responsibility of the Cable Commission, as written in our Articles of Incorporation, to make the appointments. You see here, we've got appointed 9 directors, and then 4 at-large, and then 2 community television producers, which are elected versus appointed. Now, the practice in our history has been to appoint current Cable Commission members who are not currently serving on the Northwest Community Television Board of Directors for the at-large position. And certainly that could hold true today if there's somebody interested in the commission, who's on the commission, who's interested in serving on the board. Back in 2013, we did develop a plan to recruit community producers and go through an interview process similar to what a city would do in terms of interviewing for an open vacancy for a position like on a park and rec commission or a planning commission. So we have that in place, and so the whole entire recruitment plan is spelled out there. And so the question is, for the commission, is there interest in seeking another community producer on like an appointed position to the NWCT board, or having a commission member do it? And so I guess we're just kind of putting that out there, and because this originally came up in 2013, and like I said, we do have a process in place if you want to follow that process, unless a commission member is willing to come forward now and then serve on the NWCT board.
I had
Any
3 people
takers?
that applied for the commission. One of them is very, very active here as well, and I'm struggling to remember her name. But I could approach her and see if she would want to come in and be on the commission, right?
Well, it'll be on the NWCT board, so the nonprofit group. So basically, the commission is the joint powers agency, and then the NWCT is the nonprofit organization. And if that's the case, we'd because of this process, we'd have to open it up to multiple people, but certainly, we think if we promoted it, because the last go-around, I think when Zipporah was appointed, there were like 10 people that were interested in the position. So,
I remember her name, Sharon Kephart.
okay.
Probably know.
Yeah, she's one of our volunteers here.
Yeah.
So, so is the feeling to go that route then, to go the volunteer route?
Any thoughts from commission members?
And then you, excuse me, you and the
Yeah,
chair, Al, would do an interview, and I think it worked out great with Zipporah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, sounds fine.
So we'll follow that process then and go through, and we'll promote it through our electronic newsletters and that type of thing. And then I guess the goal would be to try to have somebody on board by the next board meeting in May. So thank you.
Next item is the depositories for public funds.
Mr. Chair, this is more of a housekeeping item, but we have to do this both on the Cable Commission side and the NWCT side, so this will come up again later in our other meeting. But at the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission and Community Television Board designate Wells Fargo and Wings Credit Union as our depositories for the regular operating funds. The designation for investment depositories would include the Wells Fargo Securities and Harbor Investments, and the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission and Northwest Community Television Board would hereby authorize officers to act for and on behalf of the Commission and Board in regard to financial transactions of the official depositories. And the officers would be both myself and Helen Lefebvre, who've been the treasurer for quite some time now. And like I said, this needs to be done both as a formality, both here and at the NWCT board meeting. So we need approval for that.
Make a motion to approve the deposit.
Motion's been made. Bill, second? Or your question?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
After it's seconded.
After the second.
I'll second it.
So periodically with the city of Robbinsdale, I check and make sure that any extra money that's not FDIC insured, that the institution has security on deposit or however.
Right.
So that we're secured. it's kind of fun, as I say
Right.
at the city council, to ask the bank if they have security or the credit union. So, have we done that, and do they?
Yes, well, and by our, because we're a government agency, we do have collateralized funds. So if in the unlikely event, as they say, of the bank going under,
Or
we have collateralized funds through the federal government to bail us out for more than the 200,000 or 250,000 normal FDIC limits. And that is constantly updated. So whenever there's more money, say, put into an account, then we get a report from the FDIC saying, these are your new collateralized funds.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, Mr. Bradley, updates.
Yeah, why don't you just take it, Mike?
Okay, I will indeed. Good morning, everybody. I have a few updates for you. We'll start with some new legislation that's been introduced at the state capitol. It's House File 739, Senate File 561. It relates to a proposed change to the definition of public rights-of-way. It's a bill that's been authored. You can see who the representative and senators are for authorship, but it was drafted by Verizon and supported by AT&T. Like I said, it amends the definition of public rights-of-way. And I think when all of us in city government think of the public rights-of-way, we're really thinking about the dirt of the public rights-of-way. This bill would change the definition of public rights-of-way to include poles, utility poles, light poles, sides of buildings, of any public building. It's very broad and would really, I think, change the way that cities deal with wireless structures. We've been dealing with wireless structures really kind of in the same way for the last 30 years, really through a zoning process. And this would really change that. It would also change the way cities receive compensation for those wireless structures. So obviously, it's a bill that we're very concerned about. I've been consulting with the league. I was involved in a meeting here this last week with, actually earlier this week, with AT&T, Verizon, and other municipal officials to kind of talk through some of these issues. I don't think there's any action right now that your cities need to take. We'll just kind of wait for the league to kind of give us more information as we go along. But I wanted to make you aware of this legislation. It hasn't received a lot of support yet, other than from the wireless industry. So, for example, at least earlier this week, the Cable Association was opposed to the legislation. CenturyLink, I believe, is neutral on the legislation, so not supporting or opposing. But the authors of the bill have indicated that they want, all the parties, interested parties, to, try to work things out at this point. So we're looking at all those. We're following the author's lead on meeting with folks, and we'll give you updates as we go along.
Yeah. Has it been heard in committee yet?
It has not been heard yet. And the deadline is somewhere in early March. I don't remember the exact date, but somewhere around March 10th is committee deadline for the bill to be heard. So that kind of leads us into a small cell and DAS primer. I think when a lot of cities think about wireless facilities, they think about these tall towers that you'll see throughout the community. Now, as more and more people are using these devices, there's more and more demand for functionality out of them, not just for phone service, of course, but for data services, video services, all being used on these devices. That requires the cell operators or the cell carriers to, they need to get more bandwidth so that they can push more data to these smart devices. In order to do that, you've probably heard of 3G and 4G. Well, 5G is the next stage, the next generation of cellular technology. That technology requires the cell carriers to have more antennas, and those antennas are connected directly to fiber sources. So to fiber optic facilities, so that they can push these services as quickly as possible to their customers. So what you're going to see, if you haven't seen already, is there's going to be a increase in the amount of requests for these types of facilities in your community. And we wanted to make you aware of that, and that's part of why you're seeing this legislation, right? Oops. So here's, I just wanted to show you some examples of, because it's a lot easier to see a picture than for me to actually talk about it. So on the left-hand side, you'll see that that's a standalone pole that is just dedicated to a small cell antenna. And so the antenna you see is that kind of that round cylinder at the very top. So that's the size of it. And then you'll see down below on that left-hand side, you'll see kind of where the electronics are, because, you know, not only do they need an antenna, they also need to connect to an electricity source, and they also need, most instances, a fiber source. So there's a lot more to it than just the very top piece. The middle one is a little bit harder to see, but again, the antenna's at the very top. But that's an example of a carrier taking a light pole and then altering it so that it's much taller than what the city probably initially thought their light pole was going to be, and put the antenna up on top. So you can kind of see what happens if you don't have some rules and regulations in place. These types of things can happen, and maybe you don't really realize that at the time. In this set of pictures, this is all a picture of the same facility. So again, the antenna is up on top, but I really wanted to kind of point out the fact that there's these electricity sources that need to be taken into consideration, and what those will look like. They're not, sometimes the carriers will describe these facilities as being very small, and compared to the large towers, perhaps they are, but there's still some really significant electronics that are put onto these poles. And sometimes, like if you're looking at your light poles, the light poles weren't really designed initially to have all this additional stuff on there. And certainly, if you have decorative poles, you know, that certainly wasn't part of the concept. This is an example. Oops. This was an example of DAS antennas, and that's a form of small cell technology. I kind of like the one on the right-hand side because it shows you how these facilities can be placed on the side of a building. This one happens to be indoors in a subway station in New York, but it could just as easily be on the side of a public building if that was allowed.
Sean?
Yeah, please.
There you go.
So there's been, oh, okay. I'll stop hitting it then. I'll stop
Yeah.
pretending like I'm doing something. So there's been a number of rule changes to how cities can manage these wireless facilities requests. There's been some new shot clocks put into place, and so it's important for you and your cities to kind of go back, look at what regulations you have on file to make sure that you're in compliance currently and that you're ready for the 5G facility request as they come in. And so you can do a number of things for planning. You can have your code looked at. You can have a company come in and kind of tell you where the gaps are in coverage in your area, and then really help you, identify what your city should be receiving as far as compensation for your site facilities. And that's one thing that we do, is we partner with some other firms to come in, have an initial meeting, and then kind of give you a roadmap on what you could follow. Yeah.
Are the issues going to center around access or cosmetics or aesthetics? Where are the hot
All of the
spots?
above. I mean, all of your health, safety, welfare issues, aesthetics will be considered. So where do you want these facilities placed? Do you want them on your light poles? Do you want them on something else? Do you want them on sides of buildings? And then the compensation for the city for the use of the public right-of-way, or the public property, pardon me. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. FCC update, there's been a new, with the new administration, we have a new FCC chairman, Chairman Pai, and he's the 34th FCC chairman, and he was put into place in January. And frankly, we don't know what direction the FCC is going to go quite yet, so we're going to wait and see what starts to come out of the FCC, and we'll give you updates as we go on. Closed captioning update. So you'll remember that in one of the recent meetings, at least in the last year, we reported some changes to the closed captioning rules at the FCC. One of those rules was to require PEG producers to submit an electronic report to the FCC indicating compliance with the FCC's closed captioning rules. The Alliance for Community Media has petitioned the FCC for a waiver of those rules for PEG producers. And so that's in play right now. The comment period actually ended a couple of days ago, but reply comments could be done on February 24th. Mike and I had talked about this, on whether or not it was important for our organization to be filing in that proceeding. I felt that it was not important to do that, because the national organizations were taking care of that. So I haven't heard back from the national organizations on whether or not they think reply comments are appropriate. If they do, it would be something very short. And again, Mike and I would talk about whether or not that would be appropriate for this organization to participate in. But right now, I don't anticipate us submitting comments in that procedure, but I wanted to make you aware that that was going on. Okay? So we've talked about this before. This commission is exempt, in my opinion, from the FCC closed captioning requirements. Closed captioning is kind of interesting, though, because there are rules under the FCC, and there's also rules under the ADA. And the Department of Justice administers the ADA closed captioning rules. To be exempt under the ADA closed captioning rules, there's a specific process that an organization has to follow in order to be exempt. And there's a number of jurisdictions here in the Twin Cities that want to go through that process. And we think over the course of this next year, that's going to happen. And I've been talking to Mike about this for several months now, about this type of process, and I think Mike's interested, and I think it's a good idea for really all access, whether you're a nonprofit organization or a municipal organization. I think it's important to follow that process to show either that you're exempt, or if you're not exempt, then to comply with the ADA. So that's my closed captioning update. I think I have one more slide. So there's, you can't read this slide, but it's an article on, on CenturyLink. And I was talking to Kirsten about this yesterday, and so my comment, not hers, was the death of Prism has been greatly exaggerated. But there has been some information out there about CenturyLink moving away from its Prism product, and I'll let Kristen kind of talk to you about that. But I think in the Twin Cities market, I think it's safe to say that you know, they've made their investments here in the Twin Cities, and we don't expect Prism to go away. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on cable or
Any
other
questions for Mike?
telecom issues.
So can we get a copy of that PowerPoint, or can Mike get a copy of that
Yes.
PowerPoint?
He has it,
Yeah,
yes.
just got it. Yeah, well, I think, too, it might make sense that we send out some type of, especially, you know, we don't have, there's certain jurisdiction that obviously this commission doesn't have, and related to some of these wireless things, but I think it's important for our organization to help disseminate that information to the city managers and the electeds, because I will tell you right now, there's small cells in certain parts of the country, it's just like proliferating. It's like the Wild West out there. And I sit on the national board of the NTOA group, which we are actually at the League of not the League of Minnesota Cities, the National League of Cities offices talking about this subject, and it's very important to them that this kind of get reined in before it just goes too crazy, because there are a lot of residents out there who are, and any official, concerned about the look of these small cell sites just popping up all over the place. I mean, remember when this cable system was first constructed in the early 80s, there's still a few of you on this commission that will remember when the pedestals were first put down, say, Winnetka Avenue or in certain areas. It was a big issue. And to this day, we still deal with minor issues related to it. But the bottom line is, once these poles get built, you want to make sure you have processes in place to deal with it. And then there's a whole, like Mike referred to, the health and safety aspect. There are certain people who are worried about the RF RF radio frequency waves being so close to their home. So those types of issues could come up, and so we'll try to do the best we can to help disseminate that information, because I know, I think it's even in Maple Grove, they've been approached for some small cell sites. I don't know if any other cities have at this point. Yeah, okay, so it is happening, so we'll get some information out there to you.
So, Mr. Chairman, is there a model ordinance somewhere that you recommend, or that there's a number of model ordinances that you have seen that you recommend?
Mr. Chair, there really isn't yet in Minnesota. That was something that I've been actually talking to the league about over the course of the past several months. It would make some sense, I think, to have a model ordinance. And there's different ways that you can approach some of these small cell facilities. And so, because there's multiple ways of addressing it, there's not a one-size-fits-all type of solution yet, but that's a good idea. And I think that's one thing that you could do, at least with, you know, an area like this, is you could develop an ordinance between all of the communities that kind of everybody could, you know, share in. I think that would make sense.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, we have a representative from CenturyLink is with us today, and Mike,
Yes.
do you want to introduce her?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce Kirsten Sersland, Director of Local Government Affairs for CenturyLink. As you know, we've had Patrick Haggerty at our meetings. Kirsten has been here in the past. Patrick is now working as a Government Affairs Director for Charter Communications in a 3-state region. But we have been working closely. In fact, when this whole CenturyLink issue first came about in terms of PRISM, Kirsten is the first person I ever talked to about it at one of the local MACTA cable conferences several years ago. And she's here today to give us a little update on Prism TV.
It's a little bit of CenturyLink Survivor, kind of the
Yeah.
last
And the
man
rumors.
standing.
And the
And the
rumors.
rumors. So yeah, like you said, I'm Kirsten Sursland, Director of Local Government Affairs, and I'll be your primary contact for the franchising efforts going forward with the departure of my colleague. We're sad to see him go, but absolutely wish him well. So I have, we're fairly, as of November 26th, that was the go-live date for Northwest Suburbs. So I've got kind of a high-level overview of our franchising and PRISM in general, and then a couple of specific updates specific to the commission. And I'll just kind of go by the numbers. First number is 3. We are currently in merger talks with Level 3. They're a company out of Broomfield, Colorado, and that is set to complete in September, and that will make CenturyLink the largest provider of broadband worldwide. Level 3 primarily serves business customers, so this is a move that will strengthen CenturyLink both in the business and the broadband service. So we're very excited about this merger. Number 5, we have 5 retail locations in the Twin Cities with the addition of our Coon Rapids retail store, Roseville, Woodbury, Minnetonka, and the Minneapolis Skyway. We're moving away from the mall-based kiosks into more bricks and mortar stores where customers can come in, they can drive Prism, they can talk to a sales representative, they can spend some time there, get questions addressed. So, and by and large, these, especially the newer stores, the Woodbury, Roseville, and Coon Rapids, they are far and away exceeding their retail sales goals. So we're very confident in this model. 9 member cities of Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission. Like I said, a go-live date of November 26th. So less than a full quarter of data is collected. So again, highlights for me today. I think it's worth noting that the household count at Northwest lies somewhere between Minneapolis and St. Paul. So this is a very significant addition to our PRISM footprint in the Twin Cities, and we're happy to have you aboard. Are you not able to hear me? I'm sorry. I will speak a little louder.
Into the mic.
Pardon me?
Into the mic.
Into the mic.
Yeah, there's no amplified sound in this room. This is strict, that's for TV, these sounds coming through here. But yeah, if you want to speak up.
I will speak up. I apologize. 16 channels for CCX TV, and those channels will launch on March 21st. So it will be all of your city channels, the school districts, and your local CCX channels. 2 of them, I believe, in HD, channel 8701 and channel, looks like 1241. So those will be your HD channels. So look for those in March. As of December 31st, there are 43 subscribers. So we are making inroads. And again, this is that's less than a month of data. So I wanted to let you know that there are subscribers out there, and we are out there selling direct mail, knocking on doors.
And the good news is we've already received our first franchise fee check for 43 subscribers, so thank you.
Show me the money. As far as the Twin Cities go, we have 55 cities with approved franchises in the Twin Cities. And that looks to be the complete phase 1. We're very excited about that. It took, a couple years and a lot of hard work and a lot of heavy lifting by Mr. Bradley and others, Patrick too. And as a total, we've passed 373,000 households in the Twin Cities are currently PRISM enabled. And that is growing. That's as of the end of the year, so that is growing obviously on a month-by-month basis. I believe we have a quarterly meeting, our first quarterly meeting scheduled with you on the 27th of February, and then we will go through all of those metrics in those quarterly meetings. I have some information that is confidential, but I also put together a 4-slide PowerPoint presentation that is meant to be shared with you all and meant to be taken back to your city councils to share with your city councils and mayors and respective cities that have many of these metrics for for public consumption. So, Mr. Chair and council members, that is my committee members. That is sort of my high-level report for the day, and I'm happy to stand for questions, of which I imagine there will be plenty.
At the February 27th meeting, will there be maps provided as to where you're going to be going in each of the 9?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
and again, we provided those maps early on in this process to kind of show where we were. My guess is those maps will not look substantially different than that, simply because you're such a new franchise. But yes, maps will be provided.
Joni?
When he was discussing, he said CenturyLink was moving away from Prism. So could you kind of go through that?
Yeah,
what that means?
absolutely. The reports of Prism dying, greatly exaggerated. So this is not a, we are not pulling back from Prism in markets where we already have Prism. So what CenturyLink is doing in a very rapid and changing competitive environment, we're always looking for ways to deploy how consumers want to watch their TV shows, what channels they want, what they're offering. And so as part of that, we're doing a test, an over-the-top in, I think, 2 or 3 test markets. And what that's really designed, it's an opportunity to expand our deployment in areas without that 25 to 40 meg floor of service that a community needs, a municipality needs to run Prism TV. So it potentially also reaches those subscribers that don't have CenturyLink internet service. And so as mentioned in this article, that is in trial status, and following that trial, we'll be in a better position to understand how that new product fits. But as far as existing Prism franchises, we are continuing to honor them. We are looking forward to expanding our deployment. We are looking forward to growing our penetration rate in these communities. As I've said in my previous quarterly meetings, we're in it to win it here.
Other questions? Bill?
So can you remind us why Prism is a great product?
Why Prism is a great product? Well, it's a competitive product. So now your residents have a choice between Comcast and CenturyLink, and I think that, by and large, has been the number one thing that we have come to this commission and said is we want to give, your residents a choice. So we have. It runs on an IPTV platform. There's instant channel change. We've got a competitive package. We've got competitive pricing, competitive channels, and I think choice is really the thing that we can stand on. Aside from, I really like the product.
Joni?
Is your build out, are you still going to work within the 9 communities? So you don't just do all one community, but you have that residents have the opportunities in all of the communities. I know you were going to start like where maybe you had some of your wiring or whatever it is, right? But I'm on the city council, and I do get, people that maybe are not happy with Comcast. They want an alternative. And so was it 15% or something on each community you were going to work for first?
Yep, our franchise requires that we are built out to 15% of each community within the first 2 years of the franchise. Once that is built out, and once we hit a certain penetration rate, meaning as soon as we have a level of subscribers, then we are contractually obligated to build out another 15%. It's our anticipation that we'll hit that 15% pretty quickly. And then it's up to the market to move that subscribers up. That will dictate kind of how far and how fast we move subsequently.
Now, we did have a little in Golden Valley problem with CenturyLink. They came to us because they wanted to have faster internet.
Mm-hmm.
We changed our policy for them because in our ordinances, everything has to be underground now, to allow that in some of the areas where the poles are in the backyard. It's not as easy to put them underground and to put them on those poles. Well, then, after we changed our ordinance for that, they were unhappy with that and they wanted more. So our ordinance is now back to underground, and we did not go forward. Are we gonna run into problems like this with CenturyLink, where they come, we deal with stuff, and then they want more and it doesn't go forward?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, this specific issue with Golden Valley is it is not tied into the Prism deployment. So if I'm reading the question right, you're asking if, because we had this issue with the gig deployment and your ordinance, are we going to have issues with deploying Prism? And I'm reluctant to answer this question in this forum because we've worked with Golden Valley in the past, and I want to be respectful and I want to be appropriate. And if maybe you and I want to take this conversation offline, we can certainly do that. Or if you want to have this conversation here, we have excellent customer service. We have excellent techs. We are committed to deploying PRISM in Golden Valley. I just want to make sure that these two issues are properly bifurcated.
Because that was difficult, I mean, for me too, we passed the ordinance, spent
Well-
time, and then, that was hard, so I just want to make sure, that it's smoother.
Yeah,
for
and
our
there has been some confusion. In fact, I've been talking with the Golden Valley City Manager. There's been some confusion about the gig deployment, which is different than the deployment for PRISM TV. And so I think it's all kind of understood now in terms of the differences and made clear.
We worked with the city of Golden Valley for over a year, and we had what I thought was a very good understanding. And what the city of Golden Valley was asking us to do was run parallel networks, so keep something on the poles, but also underground. And that wasn't something that we could do in this, in that gig deployment. So after a year and then some of really working with your former city manager, Tom Burt, and the city council, we just came to, we came to the inability to reach an agreement that CenturyLink could affordably deploy this gig service. And so we, unfortunately, we had to move on. So it's, I don't want to get into finger pointing in this, in this situation, because I think that's inappropriate. But we have, Mike Johnson and I have had conversations about this. Your city manager and I have had conversations about this. So I'm happy to talk offline too.
Because we just had a test area, and we came into this, and I just don't want this to happen again, because we might, for me as a council member, might not have the same opinion.
Yeah, you know
that
what, and
do.
they're
But
absolutely, they're two
I just would
different.
like to make sure it goes smoothly, and, because I don't want our residents to,
Yeah, they're two different issues, and I anticipate our PRISM deployment in Golden Valley to be seamless.
Helen?
I just had a quick question, just out of curiosity. When we talk about the 15% over 2 years, do you know how many homes that is approximately, just ballpark? I'm
You
just
know what?
curious, going from the 43 to what that would be.
I apologize. I don't have those numbers in front of me,
Okay.
but that is something
That's
that I can,
understandable.
that I'll have available at the quarterly meeting.
Absolutely.
I have an admin that is doing some extraordinary heavy lifting, putting together this data for me.
Sure.
So I will have that
Sure.
at the quarterly meeting in a format that can be shared with you and publicly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And speaking of shared information, one of the things that I'm working on, we're in the final stages of we just finally have our channel numbers, I think, solidified, and a few other things in terms of the rollout. We're now at 43 subscribers, but I have been working on a kind of a basic FAQ sheet, and for all this, I'm going to get it out to the city communications coordinators, the city managers, in terms of, now that there's competition in the northwest suburbs, what does that mean? We're addressing the issue about the 15%, and then the competitive cable franchise, and that it's a 5-year agreement. We're going to let people know where they can find CCX Media, now that we just finally got the channels done and ready to go. So that'll be coming out within the next couple of weeks, a final document, which will help as a communications piece if you want to use either that entire piece or certain parts of that document in, say, a city newsletter.
Any other comments or questions? I just have one further comment on the
Yes, sir.
maps. You said that they would be substantially the same as what we saw previously. Now, in the case of Maple Grove, there were some glaring inaccuracies, and so I hope that will be addressed.
And thank you for pointing that out. So parts of Maple Grove are what we call legacy EQ. So it's not a legacy CenturyLink area. It's so we had to marry the maps a little differently. We did pick up that error. We hope to have that completely and totally fixed. And so that's one of the things that my admin is presently working on. So
Okay.
thank you
All
for
right.
asking that
Thank
question.
you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you for being with us.
Thank you
this
for
morning.
having me. Gives my husband a chance to hone his lunch-making skills this morning.
Appreciate your time, thank you. We do not have a rep from Comcast, other than Mike is going to pinch it, so.
Yeah, Comcast was planning on attending, but something came up. But they did want me to let you know that Comcast Day is coming up. We do have their newsletter, didn't turn out so well in the copy, but on April 22nd, it's Comcast Care Day. And the local government affairs representatives informed me that they will actually be on site in 3 areas within the northwest suburbs on Comcast Care Day. One is at the Second Harvest Heartland in Golden Valley. The other is Ark Value Village in Brooklyn Center, and then Ark Value Village in New Hope. So just wanted to inform you of that. They did say they hope to make it to the May meeting to give some type of update. That's it.
Thanks, Mike. Any other items that come before the commission? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been made, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
That brings us to the Northwest Community Television Board of Directors meeting. Guess I should have this a little closer. So the first item on the Board of Directors meeting is our consent items, the minutes, and the treasurer's report. Got a motion? Is there a second? Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. We have a number of action items, so Mike, if you could
Sure.
begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, the depository of public funds, again, a formality, but we just need, the designation needs to be made by the Northwest Community Television Board, and the recommendation is there, so we just need somebody to make a motion and a second and get it approved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, or any comments? Aye. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Okay, and that carries. Next, we have the NWCT committee vacancy.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have a vacancy on the Budget Committee. The committee meets 1 or 2 times a year, primarily in the fall, to go over the annual budget. The meetings typically take place in the morning. The main meeting takes place following the board and commission meeting the 3rd Thursday in September. So it's really a minimal commitment. The current members are Al Matson, Chair, Helen LaFave, Scott Burdette, and Zipporah Masese. We're looking for one more member who is currently on the NWCT board, who might be interested in serving on the Budget Committee.
Everybody's excited to be on the budget.
Everybody's excited, aren't they?
I'll be willing to do it.
All right. Thank you, Marcia.
Okay.
All right.
And then we have the presentation of the annual programming report.
That's correct. Very excited. This is our 5th year in doing the annual programming report, and we've got our cover up on the screen there. Very proud of that. All roads lead to CCX Media. In fact, you should all have your own version. We sent out an electronic version last week. This is the paper collector's edition. Your mayors will also receive this. But you can see even the CCX Media logo is worn out because everybody's driving on that road. I'm making this all up as I go, but it sounds good, right?
You're doing a good job.
And then you can see the old 12 NWCT sign kind of pointing in the opposite direction. So we're moving forward, and then way up in there, and the sun coming down, way up in the air, you see CCX Media, and there's our report. So I did want to say that in terms of overall things, that was a big thing that was accomplished and we're still in the process of doing this rollout, which Dave will explain a little bit later here. But we are very happy that we have the CCX Media as a brand for our content. Remember, the company is still Northwest Community Television, but the content is operated under the CCX Media name in terms of promotional purposes. And then we have the 4 sub-brands there, CCX News, then we have Sports, Cities, and then Create. Create is a new name that takes over for the name Public Access. We felt that the term public access has always been somewhat confusing, especially in the land of 10,000 lakes. And what public access people do is they actually create programs. And so we're very happy with that name, and it will be easy to promote, and we're already promoting it. And then just with the advent of all these different things, now you heard this morning from our CenturyLink representative of all the different channels that'll be there. Well, none of them are related to Channel 12, for instance. They're all on many different channels, and then we have got all the things that are on, either online that can be seen, and in so many other areas. Another a big item that I want to talk about in a minute is our vision and mission statement. And Sean, if you want to go to that, I do want to mention that that was a big part of 2016, and we came up with this vision and mission statement. And our vision is that Northwest Community Television will be a dynamic media resource known by all in our member communities, which informs and inspires public engagement. I mean, think about all the people that have either been here in this studio, the other studio across the hall, or all the news that is produced out of our studio on the other side of the building, and all the hundreds and hundreds of stories that we create in any given year. We're here to tell stories and let people tell their story as well. So our core values are: we're here to serve our communities and associates above all else. We want to display honesty, integrity, and of course at all times demonstrate professionalism. Our core focus is to serve and be a mirror of the communities as they evolve and change. As you know, all of our communities are constantly evolving, and we're here to be a part of that change and also report on that change. And we've been doing that for over 30 plus years now, and reporting all the stories that are happening in the suburbs, and then having people create their own programs. We support our commission member communities by providing media content, production, and delivery, and then be a local source so residents can be informed and aware by documenting all these changes that are impacting our community. Don't want to go any further before I go any further, I want to mention just to thank all the Cable Commission and board members who have served in 2016. Again, there were a lot of things that happened in terms of content and big issues related to the rebrand, and also the vision and mission that we were putting together. And then what I'm not going to do, though, is go through every single page in this report, but I do want to talk a little bit about CCX Create. As I mentioned, I'm just showing a little cover page here because Barb will be reporting on some activities that happen there. But in general, we've had a total of approximately, let me get to the page here now, 607. We have a 670 active volunteer base of the community producers and volunteers who produced 1,142 programs, and the program hours come out to about 869 hours of programming. And then I'll have Barb highlight some of these things later on in her report. Sean, we would flip to the next slide, which basically shows all the different cities that are connected through CCX Media, all of our member cities, starting with Brooklyn Center on the top, going all the way down to Robbinsdale on the bottom. And then again, between news, sports, and our municipal teams that go out and cover things or cover city council meetings, kind of all sit under these various sub-brands, whether it's the news, the sports, or actual cities. We produced 300 newscasts under CCX and Northwest Community Television last year. That's a lot of news and a lot of stories. Average story count, including sports, is anywhere between 8 to 12 stories. So that's featuring a lot of people, a lot of organizations, and of course, there's a lot of content. We're also very proud of our election coverage that we had last year. We had over 80 candidate statements recorded and put on both on the air in our newscast and also online. And we certainly had a lot of candidate forum coverage, and we're online for over 2 hours live on election night doing our live election coverage. Of course, had various news specials. We like to feature our standout students that are at our high school. When I see those, I always say, hey, they are our future, and it's really great to see that. And then when we did a Thanksgiving and Christmas special, we actually put the spotlight on us and told everybody about the CCX media change. And then, of course, at the end of the year, we took a look back at the 2016 year. We received several awards from 7 news awards from Eric Severide Awards, and then 4 for sports. There were over 176 productions that were produced, event productions using our mobile trucks. And then we're heavily involved in the community and countless events that we cover every single year. And then Community Corner has produced 246 videos and Mayor's Minute, 99 Mayor's Minutes. We just needed one more to crack 100, Dave. We'll have to try that next year. We had 99 Mayor Minute interviews. So well, that'll be a goal for 2017. We'll see if we can make that happen. Want to just mention a little bit about the City History Series, too, as well. We definitely had the big debut. I was out there, Dave was introducing the program at the Robbinsdale Historical Society. If you haven't seen the show yet, you've got to see it. It's both online and it is airing. Absolutely amazing. We're in the process right now of putting the final touches on the Brooklyn Park historical program right now. So and then I think we move on to Maple Grove after that. So hats off to that team putting that together. I do want to point to the chart. The next thing, Sean, is a chart on municipal city meeting recaps. Basically, wait, that might be the wrong. Oh no, that's the right one. So there were a grand total. You can see each city is listed, and of course this is in your report. There were some spikes specifically in August. Robbinsdale had 2,392 Granicus video views. Now that is more than they may get in any given year, but that is because we had the Terrace Theater. I think Marcia would remember that. I believe that still might be on her mind. The Terrace Theater issue of trying to preserve that versus putting a grocery store there. And so that spiked viewership. Plymouth has a large number around the same time. We're not quite sure why that number spiked so high. But you can see over any given year when you add up the totals, that's a lot of people who may not be sitting in your council chambers literally being in the council, but they're there in another way in terms of watching content online. So they're out there, and that's good for transparency, government transparency, so forth and so on. The next slide, I want to talk a little bit about Gov Delivery. We're now a total of 1,831 subscribers in 2016. Who have a total of 6,918 subscriptions. Well, what is a subscription? A subscription is basically a content area where a subscriber can choose from. So on average, your average subscriber would have 4 different choices. So like if I live in the city of Plymouth, for instance, I might want city information, I might want Wyzetta schools, and I might want some other things related to specific sports or some other area. So that's what, in terms of this, it puts them in the driver's seat. And on Gov Delivery, on that Monday, if you're not, I think most of the people in this room are probably on that email marketing blast is basically what this is. This is like Constant Contact, but the government side of it. If you're not on that subscription, you may want to get on it. Well, certainly let us know, either myself or Dave, and we'll get you on there because we make it very easy for you to consume content that you are interested in. It works really good. So it's a great way to get the content disseminated out there. And then the next slide, Sean, we just want to talk a little bit again about on-demand 24/7. Watching us anywhere, anytime is huge for us, so people can see things on the internet, on their mobile devices. I know Sean, or not Sean, I'm sorry, Steve from our production, remote production department did a recent update on the app. We currently have 6,502 people that have downloaded or currently have the CCX Media app on their phones, and I actually happen to be one of them. I'm one of the 6,502, and if you're not on there, you can certainly do that. It's another way to consume content. One of the things they're working on as part of we're working on redoing our website. We're looking at a much more mobile-friendly site, so at some point, the app itself may not be needed as much as once we become mobile-friendly, we'll be able to get people launched in a mobile environment so much easier than trying to, squeeze different segments within your phone and trying to expand and contract things. And so that's a big goal of the website redo, is to make it more mobile-friendly. The next slide, I think there's one there, is this one is very interesting. This is the overall YouTube video views, and you see a major spike there. We're now up to, in 2016, we had 2.3, almost 2.4. I mean, it was 2,372,000 views. And that averages about 100, or close to 200,000 views a month of YouTube videos. That is a significant number of people watching our content online. And so that number has really spiked. The question is, will that number, at some point, will that number plateau? Time will tell. I mean, we might start to see a plateau soon. The reason you see early on in the early days when we mainly had like 100,000 views on an annual basis, then climbed, is before 2012 we were not on YouTube. We were on kind of another platform. So between launching our content to YouTube and then doing a great job of promoting it and also putting more content online, that just drove the number way up. So it's very, very impressive. And then finally, I think there's one more chart here related to our website views here. And here it is, yeah. And that is, on average, we have approximately, get to that page here, about 15,000 people per month on average looking at the what was called the 12 website and now going to be the CCX media site, which will include everything all into this. That's why it'll be interesting over time to see how this all comes together, because we're really going to merge the old NWCT site into the 12 site, also merge some of the city council things all into this one site, and so we'll see if that changes the numbers over time. All in all, it was just a very unique year. At the very end, you see last page, all the people who helped out with this report. Want to thank both Steve Brockhouse, Tim Gaffron, John Jacobson, and the other Mike Johnson in the news department, Dave Kaiser, Barb Nolan, Tamisha, and of course Wendy for kind of putting the whole project together. It's a lot of work, and we have to do it in a very short time frame. But we really like the fact that we have this historic, this is like our history, like in the last year of all the great things that have been done. And again, this is our 5th one, so we're proud of it from that standpoint. And it's just that, all the numbers, all the activity, I've got just a phenomenal staff to work with and a great commission and board that make this come to life. So, I just want to thank everybody for that and ask if there's any questions at all.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of observations as
Sure.
well. Gov delivery has been brought up by Link or Luke,
Yep.
I think it is now, to have a broader reach in government services. So just an FYI on that one. And when you mentioned cell phones as having the app, iPads, those types of pads will work as well.
Yep, yeah. So, yeah, tell all your friends and neighbors they can watch CCX Media anywhere and at any time, because it really is great. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, the next report's on the branding update.
And that is Dave Kaiser.
Give it a try, Bart? All right, give this microphone a try for the recording. You see the information in your packet as well. December 19th, 2016 was the official launch date of CCX Media, and we think it has gone very, very well. And I have some slides to show as I talk that will show some of the ways that we are now out in the community. Obviously, we have hockey boards at some of the ice arenas, which this is the perfect time of the year as we get into the end of the regular season and playoffs. People are able to see the CCX Media sign. We also have the banners, which you've seen at some of our meetings, but they were kind enough at the Turkey Trot tournament to skate around with it on the ice, so it worked very well. That was right around the launch of what we were doing with CCX. See some of the other things as they go by, and again in your packet. Go ahead, Sean, just keep rolling through those. We have completed a number of tasks, as you see listed in your packet. We also have a number of things that are in progress. It all doesn't happen overnight. We figured it was going to be a 6 to 12 month type of process. And we have some future brand change tasks that will be going on exterior signage on the building, some of the interior signage that will take place. Also, the parade season will be coming again, not too long from now. I think we've already got information about Tater Days, so we'll be getting to look at some giveaway items for the parades as well. And you have one of the giveaway items that has already been completed here, and you saw it on the screen. The pens as well, so probably take your pen with, and if you need other pens, we do have a few more. But again, you see some of the technology things that we've done. Business cards are at the printer today, getting completed for our news staff. Obviously, we've had some opportunities to go out and speak to the public. This was at a Brooklyn Center Business Association meeting, and it was very nice that the newspaper was there to spread the word even a little bit further. So we're looking for additional opportunities there. Out at our events, when we cover sporting events, we have posters that go up at the school or at the site, at the parade site, and so those obviously have our media brand on them. Mike mentioned the app. We're very proud of the app, and now it says CCX Media, so people can go there and get that app. News set, all of the monitors, things that we use on the news, the graphic packages have all been changed. We are still working ahead on Community Corner, which will be another change that will be coming up, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. Even down to mic flags. You see our reporter there on the sideline holding the CCX Sports mic flag, so there are number of places. You can't imagine all the places that had 12s and now have CCX Sports or News or Media. Even the AccuWeather service that we provide, so we do some branding on the AccuWeather as well so people can understand where they're getting it from. Sports coverage, the entire opens for the games, all of those packages had to be changed as well. The Community Create side had a big event not too long ago, and one of their wishes was shirts, and so they have CCX Create shirts, and on the back it says Crew, so they're very proud to wear those around, even down to tattoos, believe it or not. So they've thought of everything. They, again, had volunteers in, and they thought of some fun ways to engage the volunteers, and tattoos were one. Also some magnets that they have available with the information to contact the Create side of our operation. So again, all in all, the initial launch has gone very well. We have more things to do, and we'll keep busy with it throughout the year.
Thanks,
Great.
Dave.
Thank you. City Hall video production.
Yes, Madam Chair, I've asked Tim to come forward and just give us a quick update on all the activities that's happened at City Hall construction. So he's kind of going to give you the Reader's Digest version of what's happened over the last 9 remodels, and always to keep in mind to prepare for the next remodel at some point down the road. And I think Brooklyn Center is our final city, and so here's Tim.
Well, that was the report I was going to give.
Oh.
You just gave us. We are nearing the end of our current cycle of updating or replacing video production systems at each of our 9 city halls in their council chambers and their control rooms. This process began in 2009, and so we have we're 8 years into that process, or going on 8 years. The life of a system we expect to be about 8 to 10 years. So we're already looking at, we're going to have to start this over again. The cost of these systems range depending on the complexity and the amount of equipment and what else is being done in the chambers at the time, anywhere from just under $100,000 to upwards of $200,000 to $250,000, depending on technology needs and desires for each city hall. Some of it's dependent on size of the room, the number of cameras we have to put in, things like that. So basically, we just wanted to let you know that we expect the replacement price tags to be about the same moving forward. We will try to only replace equipment that needs to be replaced. However, technology changes on us, as we all know. Everybody who's got an XP computer at home knows that it needs to be replaced. We did include a list of projects at each city hall in your packet. Probably the next one that's really going to happen sooner is New Hope is in the process of planning for a whole new city hall, not just remodeling their council chambers, and so that will get a whole new system, which will be interesting. We will be researching technology, see what's the latest and greatest. As we built these systems, we've tried to kind of make them consistent from one to the other, but also realize that, hey, there may be something better, more cost efficient, less invasive, whatever the case may be, that we'll take a look at and make sure that, that we're doing the best we can for you. And of course, as Mike mentioned, we want to encourage you to keep saving that cable grant money that we send out, so that can afford to replace these systems, and that's how we've been funding them. So that's it in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions? Yes, Tim?
Madam Chair, just a comment on Tim's great work, by the way, with the city of Brooklyn Center. And our very first council meeting on the 27th will be the shakedown cruise for the new council chambers and the new equipment. I'm looking very forward to the acoustics being better and being in HD, although I might have to start getting somebody to. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Other questions? So that brings us to the conference information.
Yes, I just wanted to make an announcement just that the Alliance for Community Media is having their annual conference in Minneapolis this year. They have it all over the country. I don't even remember the last time it's been in Minneapolis. It's been a long, long time. And so that's happening from July 12th through July 14th. There are some members who are interested, some board members who are interested in attending, and certainly we just want to, make it available if anybody's interested in attending here in town, just to let us know, and we'll get you signed up for it. So, but it's very exciting. We'll be involved from a planning. We already are involved from a planning standpoint, helping out the national office. I'm sure we'll have some speakers from our organization, but again, just let me know if there's interest there.
Okay, and reports.
Yeah, very quickly, I just want to give you a quick update on the Wells Fargo situation when we had that fraud situation. The League of Minnesota Cities has an attorney working on our behalf and the League's behalf of working with Wells Fargo. They're trying to work on they're pursuing it from two different angles. And the good news is that Northwest Community Television or the Cable Commission don't have to pay for it because the League's paying for it. And they're working with Wells Fargo to come up with some type of settlement, if at all possible. So that's still in the works. There's not a lot of information coming out because it's moving slowly, but it is. We hope to know more by the end of the month. And then secondly, yes?
Can you just kind of explain? I don't know.
Or were you not at that? You probably weren't at the meeting where we originally this has happened back in April now. We've been updating the board every time.
Because I think I've only missed one
Yeah,
special meeting.
we've,
so-
there was a breach, a fraud, somehow, without trying to get too technical, there is a lot of financial fraud happening over the internet through ACH and other means, in fact, in the tune of billions of dollars a year. And so they were able to, there was a security hacker who was able to penetrate our system and get through a Wells Fargo account. And so Wells Fargo has been in the process of clawing back funds that were taken. And so, and then the League of Minnesota Cities were insured. So they're in the process of recouping some of the funds that the league paid out for an insurance claim, and then also any other money that's due to us. So a significant amount has already been returned. Now they're working on the other half of it as it stands now.
How much was it?
Close to $1 million. So, yeah. So the news here is that and that's why I think, like Logis, for instance, they're starting, there's all kinds of things happening in the IT world. There's something called ransomware, and I think, Sean, did one of our cities get hit with that? With a ransomware? Yeah. Yeah. So as an example, there are cities that, and not just cities, but companies too, where hackers go in and lock up all your data, and then they say, you owe us an X amount of dollars, and then we'll free up your data, and then you could, so that kind of thing is going on, and all kinds of things, and it's kind of a scary world in terms of what's happening in terms of internet and financial. So the internet is a blessing and a curse. And all I got to say to everybody out there is always be careful, especially in a wireless world. And one of the things, we were one of the first to sign up for Logis, is it's gotten so I don't know, well, how should I say, has been proliferating. Logis finally said, we got to get this out to our communities. We got to offer some training, and so we're one of the first groups to sign up for their training. It's called Know Before. And what it does is what happens is, in the world of, the fraudsters have figured out that it's not so much the networks themselves. The weakest link is at the employee and workstation level. So that's where these fraudsters try to attack, without getting too technical, because I'm not an IT person, they try to attack through an attachment on somebody's computer. So that's why you always want to be careful, and Tim is aware of this, you want to be careful about opening attachments. And so we've done quite a bit of training on attachment opening around here, and I'm happy to report that after the training, it is a significant reduction in, because it's the type of attachments that lure you in and it looks like a legitimate attachment. I'm just telling everybody here in this room is be careful what you open, because you never know. And so, and it's the whole, the ransomware, you have to be very concerned about that too, and in any other thing, so. But we'll know more, we hope to hear more from the League of Minnesota Cities, you know, for sure before the next meeting. But, so we just want to give you, excuse me, an update on that. And then the only other thing is that we are going through some final remodeling on the other side of the building. And at the next meeting, we hope to give everybody a little tour of what's happened over there since we built the building originally back in the mid-'80s. So that concludes my report.
And Dave's ready, staff reports?
Yes, just a couple quick videos for you to take a look at. Mike mentioned it within the annual report that one of the things we did with the brand launch is put together a news special to help people understand where we've come from and where we're going. And here's a short clip of that.
For more than 30 years, Northwest Community Television has brought truly local television into your home.
And now we are getting a new name that better describes how we connect with you. Before we explain where we're going next, let's start with where we've been. In the 1980s, 9 neighboring cities came together with resources and ideas to produce local television right in their own backyard. Cable companies had to provide some channels for local programming, but they didn't want to spend money on programming. So local city leaders stepped in to fill the gap.
We weren't cutting any corners. It was going to be good. And it, as a matter of fact, has turned out to be good. In my judgment, it's the best in the nation.
Dr. Dwayne Orr of Brooklyn Center was there in the very beginning.
That served us very, very well to have high quality all the way along the line. No corners cut. It was just, if there were 2 choices and one was better, we always took the better one.
He says the early days offered everyday people a chance to make TV. Volunteers went out into the community to tape community events, such as school programs and parades, sometimes airing more than 600 events in a single year.
She is smart and adorable too.
The district admits there is no perfect plan when it comes to changing district lines. By the 1990s, people could turn on Channel 12 to find truly local sports and news that was produced professionally and focused on 9 communities in a way other TV channels could not. And that dedication to the 9 cities that started Northwest Community Television continues today as we look to the future.
And the way people watch our product has changed, so we are launching a new brand that better reflects what we are and how we connect with our communities. That new brand is Connected Community Experience Media, or CCX Media. There are 4 pillars of what we do. They are providing news and sports coverage that is unique to our area, informational coverage of our cities, meetings, and events, and then giving the community the opportunity to create original content with free training and professional equipment.
Thank you, Dr. Orn, for being our spokesperson there. And again, that is something that is still available online, and we use that when we go out to presentations in the community because, again, it's a nice overview of the history, also where we're headed, and then we talk about the 4 pillars within that video as well, so people understand What is cities? What is create? Speaking of cities, we have done some work with Community Corner, done some format changing as we moved into 2017. And what it involves is doing more of a news type of story within the Community Corner program, where a reporter's doing a little bit more of here's the facts about this issue, and then the people from the city are making some comments about the impact of it. And one that we found I wanted to show you is a unique gem in the area. Did you know Brooklyn Center has a pottery studio within their community center? And so we had a chance to take a look inside there. Here's a look at one of the new shorter segments within Community Corner.
If the thought of a pottery class seems cool but you're intimidated, no need to be in Brooklyn Center. They welcome beginners.
I take all levels, so it can be beginning, high school students through senior citizens, and I've taught them all. And so it's nice because we have some students who are beginners, who really have never thrown on a wheel before, and so the most difficult part is learning how to center, but once they have that down, they can make a bowl, they can make a mug, they can make a cat dish, whatever they prefer. It's just fun to work with and see the excitement in someone's eyes when they have actually made something, regardless of what it is, regardless of how good it is, and think, wow, I made this, I created this bowl or this cup.
Work on your project during open studio hours inside the Brooklyn Center Community Center, where classes are also held.
If you sign up for a class on Tuesday nights, you can use the Pottery Center anytime the whole center is open. If you don't sign up for the class, you're able still to sign up for a non-class program, which is a little less expensive, and you don't get the instruction, but you can also come in at any time and use the studio as long as it's not during class hours.
Download the recreation brochure at cityofbrooklyncenter.org for more information.
And again, the beauty of the new format is, as we had done in the past, these live on the city's website, also on the city's Channel 16. So if the City of Brooklyn Center wants to use that through the next couple of years to promote their pottery studio, they certainly can do that. Final clip is sports. Just want to show you a little clip from basketball. We have great basketball teams in this area, and we happen to have #1 versus #2 in the state recently, Champlin Park against Maple Grove. So packed, I understand, that a half hour before the game they closed the doors. They said nobody else in. Well, luckily we were there to put the game on live, so we had lots of viewers that night. So here's a little bit of the beginning of that game.
It's a packed house of Maple Grove High School on our version of Big Monday as CCX Sports presents coverage of Maple Grove and Champlin Park boys basketball. #1 versus #2 in the state in Class 4A. John Jacobson and Ryan Iverson. Ryan, been a terrific season for both ball clubs. Maple Grove just one loss early in the season at Park Center. Champlin Park comes in unbeaten, 17-0, and ranked #1 in the state, right ahead of the Crimson.
Well, you talk about Big Monday. I mean, all day at work today, people asking me, texting me about the game. It's got a college-like atmosphere. And you have 4 of I think, the 10 best players in the state of Minnesota on the court tonight. You got 2 great teams, great coaches, and just the energy in this gym is electric, and it's been that way since about 5 o'clock. So you talk about all the things you want in high school basketball, we got it here tonight, JJ.
So move over Duke versus Kentucky, right? We have Champlin Park, Maple Grove, and Dick Vitale's out. Ryan Iverson is in right now. So again, some great coverage. The playoffs are just starting. The girls hockey is going on right now, and we continue through the playoffs here in the winter season. So it'll be a very busy next month. So that is my update. Any questions? If not, I think Tim is going to give a little more of a look at some of the things we're doing in some of the city halls.
I'll be brief. Mayor Wilson gave part of my presentation already, so.
Sorry.
We are finishing up, as I mentioned earlier. This is the Brooklyn Center City Hall, kind of a before picture in the corner. What's happening as of, these pictures were taken yesterday. So we're getting the chambers squared away, control room. We had 3 meetings in a temporary setup in Constitution Hall. And as Mayor Wilson mentioned, our first meeting is scheduled to be in the new chambers on February 27th, and it better be because we tore everything out of Constitution Hall because some of it had to go into the new system. So, Couple other things going on. City cable casting, which is the equipment that we use to broadcast on Channel 16, both the community corner segments and the billboarding. We're moving, and I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, all this equipment from City Halls back to our head end. Our head end expansion has taken place. A bunch of wiring has taken place. It got pushed a little bit ahead of schedule due to Brooklyn Center because we had pulled that equipment out of there. And so Brooklyn Center and now Golden Valley, because their cable cast equipment was being replaced anyway, are now being, those two Channel 16s are being broadcast out of this channel, or out of this building. Makes it a little more complex for us getting on and off the air. We're working through some of those. The others will follow in the next few months. And really what it does, it consolidates the gear in one location so we can better keep track of it. It will improve the signal path. We're using fiber from the city halls back here. It's less coaxial cable transmitting those signals back here through our system and back out again, and able to originate out of here on fiber and get as close to the homes as possible on fiber. So hopefully that will help improve our signal. Everybody together now. Sorry. Other brief notes. As Dave mentioned, CCX transition is full swing. Our website, we're in the process of planning a brand new website, as Dave mentioned, that will consolidate our current websites. The city websites, we hope to provide the cities with more CCX logos and information that can be put on their websites and be promoted a little bit better. We also have on tap rebuild of all the Channel 16 billboards this year in the budget, and so we'll be working towards that. One of our things that we're careful of is a lot of cities are going through their own rebranding or relogo, new logos and things like that, so we want to make sure that we've got the latest and greatest versions of what they have, or dovetail with their process a little bit, so we're proceeding with that. Just a couple of other notes. We hired 2 new part-time city meeting staff people in the last couple of months, so you might see a couple of new faces at City Hall. And one of our longtime cohorts, Scotty Jameson, who many of you know and love and otherwise, has left the building. He's no longer with Northwest Community Television. He's moved on to pursue other employment career paths, I guess. Scotty, as many of you know, has been a fixture here for the last almost 20 years in many areas of our operation as a volunteer, producing his own show. He was on the board or commission, I don't know which body exactly, for a time as an elected representative of the public access side, and has served in various part-time employment roles, both in our daily news production, in the studio, city council chambers. I think he did the Osseo City Council meetings for close to 15 years, and a couple of other, different roles here and there. So anyway, we'll miss Scotty and wish him well. And other than that, I have nothing else to add. I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Good luck to Scotty. Barb?
Okay. I'll give you kind of a quick update here. As Mike said, the volunteers really finished strong in 2016, and so take a look at some of their accomplishments in the annual report. I know I'm really proud of them, and I just want to give a little shout out to Tamisha Ture. She took all of the statistics that I threw at her and she made them look really pretty in the annual report. So thanks, Tamisha. I wanted to give us just a little look at what we're working on currently. And we actually have a project that should be beginning in the next couple of weeks. We're actually going to be redoing our lighting in the studios. Next time when you come in, look up. We are going to be converting over to some LED lighting. It's going to be great for staff because instead of crawling up ladders to put gel to drop down the level of light, we'll actually be able to have a light board and switch things. It's going to be LED, so for Mike that's good. We're going to be saving some energy and hopefully dropping some costs as well. Go ahead, Sean. We also are working on a new
program scheduling system. Nikki Jackett has begun work where we are going to be converting over to a system which is going to give our volunteers more of a hand in reserving their own time at the facility. It also has a lot of really great elements where they can actually network with one another online. They can do that without getting us involved in the process. So it's a big process, and so we are beginning it. So hopefully at the next meeting I can give you a little bit more of an update. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Our future projects too, we've got a few things coming up. We're going to be putting in another curtain. You can kind of go through these quick. We're going to be putting in new teleprompter systems. We only have one. We have 3 cameras. We're going to be putting in 3. We're going to be putting in a new audio board, so we'll all be digital, which is awesome. And finally, we are going to be putting in some new software so we can play media back, play files back. No more tape. Obviously, we haven't been taped for a while, but this is going to make our operation smoother. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Mike alluded to, or I think Dave did, that we had a meeting earlier this week of our volunteer base. We have changed over to CCX Create. I'm really proud of the fact we're all answering the phone. CCX Create, that was probably one of the hardest things for us, especially me after 30 years of NWCT. But what we wanted to do is, volunteers got kind of a soft launch in November of our new identity, and there were a lot of questions. So we had Dave Kaiser come in, and we had a little meeting, and we kind of wrapped it around Valentine's Day. So here's just a little visual of the night. Popcorn always. We had some cookie decorating to keep everybody in the mood. We had some freebies. And some swag. Okay. Go ahead, Sean. And then just one final video. What I like to do is just give you guys kind of a visual of some of the great programming that the volunteers are putting out. And so this is just kind of a little montage of some of the programs that we had this beginning of the year to now. Gives you a look at the diversity of programming and the ideas that go on in our channels. And so any questions? Questions? All right, thank you very much. All right, thanks. That's it. Anything else to discuss? Otherwise, we're ready to adjourn. Motion? So moved. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.